So it's been about 6 months now since I started the Wellness Puzzle and putting content out on my blog and more recently on the YouTube channel. So I thought I would make this video today to let you know about 4 lessons that I've learned in the last 6 months, my first 6 months of creating content. On the whole, it's been a really fun process and I have learned so much. This is something that does not come naturally to me, speaking in front of a camera and even the techie bits behind it. So obviously my background is as a physiotherapist, and it's not normal in a way or a natural kind of avenue to go down. So really this was me kind of jumping in at the deep end and learning as I went along. So yeah, I've learned an absolute ton in the last 6 months. I can't believe it's already been 6 months. In a way, it feels like it's been so much longer because of everything that I kind of have learned. But in another way, it just feels like it's still the beginning of this journey. For those of you who read my early blog posts and have been kind of following me since the beginning, thank you so much, because your support means so much. And obviously we still have such a long way to go. But here are the top 4 things that I've learned in the last 6 months. So initially, when I started writing content for my blog, I was really worried about who was going to be reading this content and what they would think of it. And I'd even kind of picture scenarios where somebody may not agree with something that I'd written and, they might complain about me and so on. Or even just people I know reading the content and just thinking it just wasn't very good or very useful at all. And what I quickly realized through actually the support of the people around me is I got loads of really good feedback. But the main thing that I've started to realize more and more, and even so with doing these YouTube videos, is actually the realization that no one cares. No one cares whether you slip up on a particular sentence or, there is some little minor error somewhere. Most people are thankful for the content that you've put out. And also don't pick up on those things. And actually, people have their own lives and are busy in their own lives. And at the end of the day, what you put out is for a certain group of people. Not everyone will read it, and that's okay. Not everyone will watch the videos, and that's okay. And I've learned almost in the last 6 months to just take that pressure off myself and thinking that anyone's going to react in a certain way to the stuff that I put out there. Because really, there hasn't been too much, bad reaction from anyone. You have the odd person on social media who may not agree with what you're saying. But apart from that, 99% of the time, it's been really, really good, positive stuff that's come back. And I've kind of now had to drop this thing where, I used to think that everyone was caring and everyone was kind of paying particular attention to all the details and stuff like that, because really people don't. And it's just kind of that expectation sometimes you put on yourself to do a good job, and actually the content that you put out is good value to people anyway. Something around this as well that I noticed recently is I had to deliver a talk at work to a group of physiotherapists. And usually before a talk like that, I'd be feeling quite nervous and I'd be feeling a little bit anxious about how the talk's going to go, how many people are going to attend and the engagement within the session. And for the first time ever, I actually didn't feel that nervous going into delivering the session. And I had to think afterwards and I thought about why that might be. And I came to the realization that it's probably because I'm used to putting myself out there now. I'm quite comfortable putting myself out there because of what I've done over the past 6 months. And I've kind of got used to being, in the eye of different people and not worrying too much about kind of what they think and so on. So one thing I definitely say to anyone out there who is looking to maybe do something like starting a blog or starting a YouTube channel is actually don't worry about putting yourself out there because you don't get much reaction back. Really at the beginning, and I'm probably still in this stage a little bit at the moment, is you put a video out and there isn't that many views to begin with because you're just starting off. So in your head, you kind of think about all these different people who are going to watch your videos or read your content, whether that's in a blog post or even listen to your podcast if it's a podcast. But actually at the beginning, there isn't many listeners, readers or viewers. And just get yourself out there to begin with, because you will get so many benefits from it. Just the example I gave around delivering that talk, I mean, that's a great benefit in itself, if nothing else kind of comes of this. But initially, that thought about kind of what are people going to say and what people are going to think. It's just something we build up in our own minds. And actually the reality is no one cares too much about all those little things. So at the end of the day, we are probably our biggest critics. I definitely am my own biggest critic. But one thing I definitely learned is don't be afraid to put yourself out there and reap the benefits that come, because they are plentiful. So the second thing that I've learned is that it's really, really important to have a system when you're starting off something like this. And that's just because if you are working full time, like I am, time is limited. So really, I'm getting a chance to do this evenings and at the weekends. And it's really important to have a system and a schedule in place so that you are maximizing your time efficiently. An example of this is that I actually have a weekly diary and a calendar. And what I do every Sunday is I kind of look at my week coming up and I actually schedule in the tasks that I do every week. So an example of that might be filming this video, for example. I know that I have to plan the video, film the video, and edit the video. That won't all happen in one day because I've learned to kind of batch tasks up, similar tasks. So what I actually do now is I do my planning on one day. I film maybe 2 to 3 videos in one day, and then I edit those videos at a different time. But it's having that system in place so that actually you're really efficient with your time. What I was doing at the beginning was I was actually planning, filming and editing all in one day. And all I was doing then was like having a video ready each week, which didn't really help me to get ahead of the time. And what I really want is to have a bank of videos that I have scheduled to kind of upload to YouTube and so on. So I'm able to do that now because let's say today I'm actually filming 3 videos. I will then edit those 3 videos over the next week and I've got 3 ready in the bank to go. So that's really, really important. Another example might be I know I have to schedule some time to write my newsletter, which might take an hour or 2 to do. So actually at the beginning of the week, looking at the week as a whole and scheduling that in. And that just makes sure that I'm on top of everything and not feeling kind of overwhelmed at the beginning of the week or kind of catching up on things that I've left till the last minute. So number 3 is actually a strange one because it's actually scheduling in downtime. Now, I just spoke about the importance of scheduling in reoccurring tasks to make sure you're using your time efficiently. But another thing is actually scheduling in time for yourself. This is something I've learned probably the hard way over the last 6 months because I have scheduled in all of my reoccurring tasks. And then what I've realized is I just have no time for myself. So I've been working full time, and then at the weekends or the evenings, I've been doing stuff for the blog initially and then the YouTube channel. And then we came out of lockdown and, things started opening up again and I started to make more social plans with friends. And actually all my weekends got taken up. And I was then at a stage where I was having to cram even more things in during the week because then I had the weekend away. And it's all good stuff and it's all things that were happening that were really exciting in my life. I also moved house as well a couple of months ago, and all of those things together individually are really, really good things. But when you put them all together, so coming out of lockdown, seeing your friends more, seeing your family more, kind of keeping up with the YouTube stuff, and then also doing stuff around the house because obviously it was a new house. All of those things together lets me feeling quite overloaded in a way. So what I've now learned is that I need to leave a little bit of space in between things and just learn to actually be really intentional with my time. So when I'm doing tasks for the wellness puzzle, I am actually making sure that 100% of my attention and energy is going into those tasks. And then I'm making sure that I actually have a clear break when I finish that task and allowing myself to have some kind of downtime in the evenings, or even just making sure that I'm getting outside and, exercising and so on, which did slip a little bit kind of a month or so ago. And this is probably something I speak about a lot, is actually taking time for yourself. But I did find at one stage I had to catch myself and say, you know what, you're not actually doing what you are preaching in a way. I was just kind of work. And there was no kind of play or there was no kind of relaxation time. So that's something I've learned. And going forward, it's definitely something I'm looking to do. So in my week's plan, I'm actually going to set some time aside and say, okay, right, this is a kind of no work time. Or it might be that, you're going to go for a walk during this time, get outdoors, go for a bike ride, whatever it might be, but making sure that I step away from work, which is key. And when I've actually started to do this more recently, I've noticed a big improvement in my sleep and also just in the conversations that I'm having with people. So when I was feeling quite overloaded and, everything in my brain just seemed to be on the go all the time, I wasn't sleeping well because my mind was just racing at night. And I did a YouTube video recently on sleep. And the whole reason I actually did that video was because I needed to reflect and see why I wasn't sleeping too well. And all of those things I was kind of doing to some degree. I mean, I was doing probably 90% of the stuff that I mentioned on that video. However, the main thing was that I wasn't switching off. I wasn't finding that I was able to switch off. And I was, having my downtime in the evening, no screens, no phone. I was reading before bed. I even started doing some kind of meditation before bed. But still, because during the day I'd been at kind of 110%, all guns blazing, that actually when it came to sleep time, my mind just was still racing. So there's been an improvement in my sleep now that I've been taking more kind of time out from stuff. And the other thing is as well, even when I was meeting up with friends and family and I was having conversations, I was noticing that my mind was just kind of drifting more towards work. And that's just not really great for relationships and so on. So managing to kind of notice that and then actually come back and say, okay, be intentional with your time when you are working, but then when you're not working, that's it. Okay. And you focus on that person in front of you and the conversation you're having within that moment. And I think it's really important to do that. It's so hard to have boundaries. We know that because of the last kind of 18 months that we've had. And I'm sure more of you would have been working from home like me. And it's having that barrier between home life and work life has been so difficult. And this is just one more example of that. But again, for anyone who may be looking to start off anything like a YouTube channel in the future, my advice would be to kind of take things easy initially, because you don't want to burn out before you start. And I think I was at risk of doing that a couple of months ago. So making sure that actually you are taking time for yourself and kind of easing into the workload, because it's very hard to turn things down once you've kind of gone in hard, but actually you can turn things up as your time allows in the future. So in November time last year, 2020, when I really started looking at how I might start a blog, I did the Humble Pennies blog course, and I'll leave a link to that in the description, because that was a really good way of kind of starting off my journey into blogging. And I was looking at their course, and as I was going through it, there was a lot of kind of information there that I was taking in and things like that. And I had a look online at the Humble Pennies website, and actually I saw that kind of what Ken and Mary had done is they had developed a really, really good, sustainable blog that was bringing them in quite a lot of money, and they're quite transparent with kind of how much they have earned with their blog, and they are also on YouTube now. But they were quite transparent with how much they'd earn, and I had a look at that, and I thought, you know what, that looks good. I can't wait to get up to those sort of numbers. And I thought, I'd start off the blog within a few months' time. I'd be earning, a decent amount of money from it. And that was quite a naive way of thinking. I think, like anything, when you're starting anything off, you're starting any business off, there isn't a sudden surge of money that comes through initially. It takes time. And I've been listening to other kind of YouTubers who've been starting off, and they all seem to say that, for the first kind of 6 months to 1 year, your first kind of 50 videos, you don't see too much in terms of financial gain. You don't even see much in terms of engagement either. You probably get a few views per video. You might have a few subscribers. They start to drop on one by one, but you don't see any massive kind of surges in engagement or anything like that. And this is quite common. So most people who have done this all report the same thing, that initially it can be quite slow progress, and it does take time for things to build up. And the key is not to lose heart. So for most people, the reason why things like blogs and YouTube channels or podcasts don't work out is because it takes a long time to see any benefits initially. And most people, unfortunately, what happens is people will kind of quit before they get to that stage. So something I'm quite conscious of and quite keen not to do is obviously do that. I have changed my approach completely now. So at the beginning, I was thinking, when am I going to start earning good money from this? Whereas now I am just actually enjoying the process of putting out content for you guys and seeing the responses as well, because I think over the last probably actually 2 to 3 weeks, I've really noticed a difference. Like I feel like things are taking off now slowly, and I think that's probably just because of the hard work that I've done over the 6 months and the consistency in which I've released things as well. And that's key. Most people say that, you need to be consistent, and you need to consistently be posting, but also be consistently giving good value and good content. So again, my advice for anyone who's looking to start off anything like this is don't compare yourself to others. So there's loads on social media, and we see lots of influencers and content creators, and they've got thousands of followers, and they seem to be in partnership with all of these companies and promoting their products and so on. And really what we don't see is the hard work behind that and what they've had to do to get to that stage. So initially when we're starting off, we feel like we should be reaching those kind of levels straight away because other people on social media have done that. But it takes time to get there. And I'm sure if you spoke to any of them, they would tell you the same thing, because a lot of people who become quite successful share their experiences and what it was like in those initial stages. So when you are starting off, don't feel like everything needs to be done at once. You really do need to pace yourself, because otherwise, again, you will just burn out. So guys, they were my 4 big lessons that I've learned in my first 6 months of creating content. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section and whether you've got any questions for me. If you are starting off or you are thinking about starting off, then I might be a good person to speak to, because I've literally just been through it and I've just been through my first 6 months of it. If you would like to keep supporting me, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And please turn on the notifications as well, because you will get a little ping then every time I release a new video, which is once a week at the moment. It's probably going to move to twice a week at some point, but at the moment it's once a week. And you'll get a notification every time that's released. The other way to support me is by subscribing to my newsletter, and I will also leave a link to that in the description below as well. The newsletter really gives a behind the scenes look into how I am putting together content and stuff that's upcoming. And it's a little bit more personalized as well, just because I get to speak to people on a regular basis, and it's an email delivered to your inbox every fortnight. I also give an insight, I give a tip, and I give a quote as well for your week ahead. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Finally, if you haven't already done so as well, you can follow me on social media. So I'm across a few different social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, and obviously YouTube. But the ones that I use the most are obviously YouTube for these videos, and also Instagram. So that's probably my main one. Guys, thanks for watching, and also thanks for being with me for the past 6 months. Here's to another 6 months and many, many, many more to come. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, any questions, feel free to ask, and I will see you next week. Take care.